Sydney Sunset Showdown here at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's round 3 of the Hi-Tec Oils Super Series. I'm Matt Kavanagh, and joining me once again, Scotty Pye. Welcome back, and it's overcast and very interesting conditions here.
It is. It's very tough conditions out there for the drivers today. It's great to be back. I'm very fortunate to be part of the team this year, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. We're off the back of the TA2 two-driver event, Queensland Raceway. Absolutely loved. I participated in the commentary booth. Much happier behind the steering wheel still, I must say, but I do love being part of the team and excited to see what the drivers can do this weekend. Under lights as well, but it is definitely tricky conditions out there right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting things about when we do come to Sydney is the under lights racing that we have at night time. So that's going to be a real excitement as we move into there. We'll talk about championships with the TA2. Obviously, we welcome Sports Compact for the first time ever here when it comes to the Super Series, and we have them joining us first time out of Victoria with the series as well. So to come to Sydney is a big one for them. All the usual suspects here, though. Of course, we got the Formula RX8 who are back here with us. The Yokohama AASA Formula 4 Championship. Now, that's tightly contested as well. I can't wait for that one. The Hankook Australian Drivers Championship. The TFH Hire Legend Cars Australia. Yeah. The Game Over Endurance Championship is here as well. That's going to be a 3-hour race tomorrow afternoon. That was pretty good up at Queensland as well. Innovation Race Cars, and, of course, the TA2 Muscle Cars, which, of course, is going to be out in just a moment for their qualifying session.
Yeah, there's some impressive racing that's going to take place this weekend for sure. And some of the drivers, particularly in Formula Ford, have really impressed me so far this season. It's been great to be part of this team so I can keep an eye on the development of the drivers coming through the junior ranks. But you mentioned the night racing. That's something that gets me really excited. As a driver, it's a really cool experience. Everything feels faster. And then as a fan or a spectator on the edge of the fence, the cars just look cool at night. So Sydney Motorsport Park is one of the best circuits that we have for night racing. It's one of the best facilities in the country, so it is a great spectacle for the fans.
Now, the TA2 muscle cars are about to come out. They're coming off their endurance round. We saw a little bit of damage from some of the cars. They had to go through a lot of their paces. They do a lot more racing when they go up to Queensland Raceway. Alice Buckley comes out of that weekend, though. She still holds onto a championship lead, but Tyler Cheney is just behind her. It's their first full-time season in TA2.
Both of them doing an amazing job, and Alice at Queensland Raceway really stood out to me. It's a great opportunity for all of the drivers in TA2 to get the experience and I guess get some advice from experienced drivers in our country, whether it be Will Davison or Tim Slade, Brodie Kostecki with Nash Morris as well. It is a unique opportunity for these drivers to soak up as much information as they can. So for Alice, I mean, she was spectacular at Queensland Raceway. Arguably, I mean, she was really close to Slady. So I look forward to seeing what those drivers can do this weekend. Benny Gomes obviously had a good run at QR as well. But this weekend, they come off the back of Queensland Raceway and getting to learn a little bit from those pros. And it'll be interesting to see what they can do here this weekend on trying to improve on their own performances prior to what they experienced at Queensland Raceway.
Well, there'll be a few of them starting to think about championships as we move on to the series. Of course, this is round number 3. We move to the Fight in the Night back in Queensland in August, so that's going to be interesting when they go back there as a single driver event. Round 5 at Winter Motor Raceway in September, and then, of course, we finalise our season out at Calder Park Raceway in November later on this year. So there's still a fair bit to play out, but we are hitting that midway point, and points start to accumulate right now. As you can see, well, it's overcast. It's only 14 degrees here today, but it's been showers intermittently, so they don't know whether to go out on wets or slicks.
It is a track that dries fast, so it's the engineer or the crew chief's absolute nightmare right now. Drivers, we just get in the car and you drive to the conditions, right? But for the guys in the pit lane, it's a really tough call here at this circuit. The corners are quite long and the aggregate is really dissolved. I guess the water absorbs quickly here and dries. So the long, high-speed corners, high tyre wear on a track that dries out fast, picking the right tyre at the right time is a real challenge for the crew and the people behind the wall. But from the driver's perspective, it's really just about trying to muscle this thing around as fast as you possibly can. But it's certainly a tricky course. You've got a lot of long flowing corners, so you spend the majority of the lap turning.
Well, the man who's going to bring you all the action up there in the commentary box. Let's head up to Matt Nolte.
Gentlemen, thank you. Looking forward to 2 days and nights here at Sydney Motorsport Park in the Sydney Sunset Showdown, and event 3 this year of the TA2 Muscle Car Series. Is about to head out on track in just a few moments' time for 15 minutes. And yep, it's a very wet afternoon. In fact, we had, I would call, Jared Hughes, a deluge of rain about 2 hours ago here. Smashed this Sydney venue, but the sun has come out. We know the drivers will go out on wet tyres for this, but will we see some dry track running maybe at the end of this session? That sun's really peeking out now.
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully it dries out a little bit. Nice to be back with you, Nolts. Had a little bit of a smoko break for round 2 at the 2 driver. Got to to drive with Caleb over from NZ, but it's good to be back in the box, especially now when it's these sort of conditions where it's not completely soaked, but it's also not completely dry. It's in that halfway point. It is the absolute worst conditions you can have as a driver because you just don't know where you got. You're going into one corner that's dry, next corner could be completely wet, next corner dry, you just don't know what you've got.
Out goes our new series leader after the tag team enduro success. I'll talk about Alice Buckley, who has a 4-point advantage. Joel Heinrich will take us out of pit lane as well here, and this first couple of laps will just be pioneering. Where are the damper spots around here? We can see one on the braking approach up there, just past the ARDC sign. 40 minutes of practice this morning. In fact, it was 37. A couple of drivers got caught out there towards the end trying to go for an extra run. But that session came to an end with no red flags. And Alice Buckley, quickest, 1:47.56. The quickest of that session to be nearly 7/10 clear of Tyler Cheney, Joel Heinrich, Brock Payne, and Tommy Smith, who I think is going to this just surprise a few people as this year goes on. Yeah, he picked up a race win at the Bend Motorsport Park, but he's learning with every single lap after a pretty significant stint in open wheelers.
Yeah, exactly. And he's actually got a bit of recon already here with Super 2 at the start of the year at SMP. So he's going to come into this round with a little bit more knowledge. Only 40-minute practice this morning. That's all these guys have been able to do. And it was wet as well. So if this does dry up, the guys like Alice and Tommy and Ben Gomersall and Nash, who have been here earlier in the year in Super 2, they're going to have a bit of an advantage because they've done a few laps around here in the dry. They're going to be a little bit more used to it. But to touch on what you said before about that 3 minutes shorter, the shorter session this morning, a couple of the guys actually put, and girls I should say, put their wets on that they were going to use for quali, roaded them in so they got rid of that wax that you have on that tyre, because when you go out on that wax, it is absolutely torrential. It's just horrible for the first couple laps until that wears off. So they tried to wear it off.
Smart play to do that this morning, because that would have taken a lot of track time out for this qualifying session.
It's only 15 minutes. It's actually not that long.
Of which we've spent nearly a full minute just getting around to start the lap.
Exactly.
I don't expect pit lane to be very busy here. I think they're just going to keep circulating out there to try and dry off the track as much as they can and get a dryish line out there. Might be ambitious.
You won't box the slicks. You just won't, unless you gamble it now. Put the slicks on now, go out, circulate, try and get some temp in them. You're not going to have time to box halfway through, put the slicks on and get enough temp in it to do a lap. It's just probably not going to happen.
So Buckley will start the flying laps. They've gone out in pretty much championship order for this session. On a very tricky afternoon here at Sydney. In fact, it's our second only time we've qualified in the wet in the series of the TA2 muscle cars, and ironically it was here back in 2018, our first ever visit. This one being our 11th here at what was known as Eastern Creek when it first opened back in 1990. Gave you a nice little school lesson on the way to the commentary box today on the history of this track.
That was pretty cool.
In fact, it was a touring car race that opened this. It was the Nissan 500 that ran a week after the Formula One race in Adelaide that year, and won by Larry Perkins and Thomas Mazzero that day. A 500k race around here, which went on a Saturday afternoon, pretty much green and check without any stoppages on that day.
I don't know how you remember all this. I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. You're remembering who won a race all the way back then, but also MotoGP ran around this place. That is something I didn't know, but that is so cool. But we have a look what's going on a track, and these guys are pushing it really early, and that's what you want to do. You need to find that limit as early as you can. So when that track dries, you're chasing the track. You're not chasing yourself trying to find that lap time. So these guys are pushing it as much as they can. Tyler pushed it really hard into turn 2 there, finding that little bit of concrete on the outside. But that's just what these guys are going to have to do. Really short qualifying session. It's going to get quicker because it's going to dry out. This is going to go all the way down to the wire.
Yeah, I think you'll find we'll see the session best happen after the checkered flag. It keeps evolving here, but the idea is to stay on the racing circuit here. You drop a lap here, it's going to kill your session.
Not a lot of grip on the grass.
Definitely no grip out on the grass, but certainly if you're in the mid-pack right now, looking down towards the Scott Dornan, who makes his debut, Ben Cavic territory, Danny Reedy, they're on the tail of the field here, trying to find some real estate. It's 3.9 Ks around, but you've got 22 cars all looking for that bit of space out there.
Yeah, and I was going to say Nash, I thought he would have started a bit further back for this session, and I was going to say he's actually in a good spot because as these cars keep driving around, they're drying the track out. If you're actually one of the last cars to get over the line to get one more lap, you'll get the driest the track can be.
Exactly.
That was a close one. Oh, Tyler going off again.
So this is Joel Heinrich at the top of turn 2, carrying one of our in-car cameras for the weekend, the Osborne Transport CR International Ford Mustang. Joined us last year at Malala. He finished behind you on a couple of occasions. He got sick of seeing your car by the end of it.
He was. I've never had someone in my rear bar so long for the whole race. I was just staring at him, and it was one of the hardest races I've done. It was actually a really fun race with Joel, and he's doing an awesome job. Really well presentation as well on these cars that these guys are doing. It looks so good, especially Joel. But have a look at that car. That's the interior. Everything just looks awesome. It's so cool to see these guys putting a lot of effort into the presentation. How cool is he on board? Just hanging on the whole time.
Reigning Touring Car Masters champion who bounced back with White Line Racing last weekend to pick up a victory on the streets of Reed Park in Townsville. Multi-time Aussie racing car champion in his own right. And currently in second position with 2/10 away from Alice Buckley. We're starting to see purple sectors, which means they are session best. And I expect to see a lot of that as this session evolves here. But that being said, looking out of our commentary box window, it's a little darker again all of a sudden. Looking through the in-cars, which brighten up the conditions, that looks... Oh, Heinrich's going massively wide here.
Just finding the grip. just trying to do the Max Verstappen spec. That's what's so crazy about the wet and why it's so enjoyable. You think you're about to go off the track, but that's actually where the grip is. Yep. You're like, nah, I'm gone, and all of a sudden it grips up.
The go-kart line,
yes,
right?
Exactly right. But one thing I'd like to highlight, Nash, he's got 2 purple sectors, obviously very early in the session, but I just spoke to him, and he said that he was 3 seconds off in practice, had no idea why. Could not work out why he was so far off, and now he's gone to the top of the timesheets.
And now he's 1.1 seconds quicker.
Yeah, I think he figured it out.
Brand new. This is the newest car in the fleet. He picked this up from HCC Distribution a few weeks ago. Both he and Brodie Kostecki had a standout performance, didn't they, during the tag team enduro event. Nash, of course, the only race winner, pole sitter and round winner in this weekend's field of 22. And that's when he swept the weekend back in 2021. It was a 5-race winning streak, second only to Aaron Seaton here. He had 7 race wins in succession. In fact, you talk about clean sweeps, this is the most clean sweeps we've seen any of our tracks on the tour. There's been 5 since the first event here back in 2018.
So rocking my car last year.
Yeah, I did want to bring that part up.
Yeah.
You were MIA that week.
Yeah, I was off doing something else, but he did an awesome. That's track limits here.
Yeah, it is track limits.
I reckon that would be track limits, that one. But no, Tim hopped in for me last year and absolutely smashed it out of the park in the old 118 RAS Camaro. He did an awesome job, but yeah, I'm curious to see Nash's first sector on this app is purple again. His right side tyres through turn 2 were all on the concrete.
Yeah.
He wasn't worried about keeping it on the track. He's actually looking for that concrete, and a lot of times around this circuit in the wet, that concrete's actually got really, really good grip. So you might see him, especially in this last sector here, we'll see if he bombs it through that second last turn to use the concrete on the outside, because there might be a little bit more grip out of there. We'll see. He gets the curb on the inside there. Yeah, just straight out there, using all that concrete on the outside to get more grip. And he's going purple again here, Noel. So I reckon he's feeling a bit better, obviously.
First solo appearance in the series since 2023, incidentally for The Flash, former Super 3 champion for Paul Morris Motorsport a few seasons back, and now in the Super 2 Championship once again. It wasn't an improvement on that final sector, but keeps the gap at 0.8 of a second back to Gomersall, who's jumped up in a second. Alice Buckley, Cody Garland, the repaired number 41 car in 4th position. Joel Heinrich, Hayden Hume, who's back in the field. He was scheduled to drive with Warren Wadley in the tag team enduro race, and when they blew an engine fairly hard on the Friday, decided to pull that car out for the balance of the weekend. Tyler Cheney is next. This is a little bit awkward between he and Garland on the exit.
I'd hate to be Garland in that position. That you get so much understeer at the apex of that corner in the wet, and if you got that car on the outside, you'd be watching your mirror going, please don't have understeer.
No.
I don't want to cop one in the door. Very, very hard place to be there.
Cameron Laws up 3 positions into 13th at Castle Railing, number 9. They spent way too much time repairing that car up in Queensland. Every race they had damage. Every session went out, it had a broken panel. They worked all night Saturday to have the car repaired for the final day. It found itself off, and Havich loops it at the top of the final turn.
That was
style points.
That was tactical. Look at that. He's just trying to get a good run onto the main straight, maybe. It did probably not the way I'd go about it, but...
Is that one of those spins where I blink? Did that really just happen?
Yeah.
It happened so quick.
No, if you ask him, he'll say he did that on purpose. But I bet if you watch the onboard, his eyes would have been shut that whole time. Open back up him straight. Oh, beautiful. That looked pretty cool.
Look at gear and keep going. Cavich, of course, Bathurst 6-hour winner. They're back in 19th position. Here is the Thrive entry. It was already gone before he got to the turn.
Just got on the gas and a bit too hard.
Pat Neville just behind a Stroud Holmes car, one of the 2 flying Zebras. And just grabbed a gear and fed it on back into another lap. No harm, no foul, and he finds himself in 19th position. So with 6 minutes and change remaining
That's gone so quick.
Very quick.
That's gone exceptionally quick.
Nash Morris is leading by 0.6 of a second. Tim Slade walks back into Alice Buckley's garage there. Gomersall is second. You're watching Des Collier coming out the final turn. Then it's Alice Buckley, who's in the pits now, along with Brock Payne and Tommy Smith. Cody Garland, impressive in fourth position. Reigning Aussie racing car champion in the fourth position now, with Heinrich, Hume, Cheney, Payne, Smith, and Robbie Farr inside the top 10.
How many green sectors do you see in there, Nods? There's
Quite
actually
a few.
There's a few down the back, but at the front, there's not really much action going on. And Alice has come in, and one theory I may have, they may have started a little bit higher in the pressure, thinking it was going to be a little bit wet, a bit more wet, I should say. But it's actually not. It's actually not too bad. You see these guys running on the inside of 3. When it's wet, you're traditionally up high, trying to find that grip. So I think, yeah, we got a few green sectors coming now, but maybe these guys pressured it, thinking it was going to be a lot more wet than it actually is.
Jackson Rice watching him follow Robbie Farr, the Cinnapec Lubricants car, former sprint car champion, former speed car champion, former World Series sprint car champion. He's done it all. And these are the conditions he'll thrive in.
He loves it. I watched his onboard just before. I'm helping him out a little bit this weekend, and it's so cool to see him up on the wheel. He is the fastest reactions, but I shouldn't say fastest reactions, but whenever something happens, he just reacts in the absolute perfect way for these sort of conditions. Actually, watching his onboard, I actually learned a bit. You can see him there just hanging it out. He loves it. That is his natural habitat of having the rear end of the car at a completely different angle to the front. He just absolutely loves it.
Some would be really phased by these conditions. He'd be rubbing his hands together right now, and that's why the result is 10th position. Won't be an improvement on this lap. He's about a second or so away from his best time. Jackson Rice is improving just behind him, the Hi-Tec Oil Chevy Camaro, who at one point led the series. He comes into this round in 5th position in what will be his 41st race, and it looks like the session's done here for Des Collier, who's jumped out. 11th position though for DC. It's not bad. He's been hovering around the top 10 for a while now. Scott Dornan, his first run in the series, is 13th at the moment. Kiara Zabatakis, who's back after missing the second round in the Greek law entry for Garage 21, is in 18th position. But really at the top now, we're not seeing too much light up, which surprises me. I would have thought we'd see a lot more there now. But maybe the conditions have dried out too much to get more time out of these tyres, and maybe they're just getting a little too hot.
Yeah, and that's where Alice came in, dropped those pressures down by the looks of it. We might see her come swinging out at the end of this with 3 minutes and 44 to go. So we'll keep a keen eye on her car to see if they've got a bit more pace. But yeah, I think that's what it is, Nods. I think they probably thought, because they've bucketed down before, I think they thought this is going to be a torrential track, but it's actually dried out really quickly.
And it's with that humidity, like it's 14 degrees outside, but it's 99% humidity. It's quite sticky here today in Sydney.
We don't get that in the box, though,
No, we don't.
In the aircon box,
we're comfortable 20 and jackets and beanies on up here. But they are forecasting rain for later on this afternoon. We may get some patchy rain for the first race this afternoon, which is 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here. Here's Heinrich again using the go-kart line at the final turn. 3 minutes still. There's time to improve. Ben Gomersall's found it again.
That's another one.
Cavic adds to the list of spins at the final turn. And wasn't going to trouble the timekeepers with that lap anyway, but it might have hindered Heinrich's time.
I love that. Wasn't going to trouble the timekeepers. I am going to use that. That is the best line I've ever heard. And the poor bloke spins and he's not going to... Oh, that is so good. I love that.
Are you okay over there?
No, I love that. That is the best line ever. I think this is the best conditions for us here and for you guys at home, because there's so much going on. We've got guys running the concrete on the exit of every corner looking like they're going to drive off the track. We've got people not disturbing the timekeepers. We've got all the fun stuff going on.
To clear that up, though, I wasn't having a go at him.
No.
His lap was going to not trouble him. He was 5 seconds off his best. So
I just thought that is the best play of words I've ever heard. That was so good.
Right, let's focus on Joel Heinrich to take the heat off me for a few seconds anyway. He's at 31.9 at the second sector here, so it's not bad for the Osborne Transports cars. He takes you down to turn 6. This was reprofiled back in 2012. And just steers that in. Patience with the throttle. Off that yellow line, you can hear the car buzz into wheel spin underneath that bridge into Corporate Hill. And off the normal racing line, he's staying off that patch that's in the middle of the turn.
Yeah, it's in the dry. That patch is awesome. But in the wet, because everyone runs there, that's where the rubber is. And when water gets on that rubber, it's slippery as ice. And you'll see these guys, unfortunately, there's a lot of these corners where you don't have much of a choice but to be on the racing line. And that's where you start to see a lot of understeer. And got Brock Payne, that looks like turn 2, I want to say. He's gone a long way.
It's a long way up and a long way down. Oh, and it's careful not to scoop up, and that's actually damaged the front splitter on his 33 machine. This was a track he broke through last year to score his first podium under lights at Sydney Motorsport Park.
He did an awesome job last year, actually. Didn't he?
Yeah. Here's Heinrich.
What's he got?
There's an improvement on both sectors, and that puts him up into the top 2 rows now with third position. The Flash continues to lead. He has 0.3 of a second back to Gomersall as we look at the...
Oh, that's a big one.
A long way off too.
Yeah.
And Bond Corner, or turn 2 here at Sydney Motorsport Park, has unloaded the 33 that's inside the top 10 in 8th. Gomersall goes to 2nd in the meantime. And Hayden Hume out of nowhere goes to 3rd.
Oh, the Humey.
We might see some surprise packets here with less than 30 seconds remaining.
And Nash did a purple sector on that last lap in the final sector. So I think we're going to be maybe seeing some of those guys cool those tyres down. We've got Alice on a pretty good lap here as well, about to reach a checker. That's P3. 45.7, still second off what Nash did earlier.
Impressive lap.
Yeah.
Here's Chris Smurden off the final turn. Veteran in touring car racing that dates back to the early 90s and back behind the wheel of one of 2 Stroud Holmes cars for Matt Stone Racing. Matty's here this weekend, so in the pits earlier talking to Jason Gomersall. And just got to the line. And I think he can go again if he likes as the session ended. Hayden Hume's on another good lap. Tyler Cheney's on another good lap as well. Final turn. Heading down this long main straight for Scott Dornan in the Ford Mustang. Beautifully presented, number 23.
Really good looking car.
And that's a handy start to his career. Wet conditions, slippery track conditions, multiple surfaces around, and he's inside the top 15.
That's an awesome effort.
Tommy Smith is also on a good lap. We're back in car with Joel Heinrich, 32.1, 8/10 away, but there's still some time to be made up. Nash Morris is going to maybe extend that time, or will Ben Gomersall displace him.
Yeah, purple sector in the mid for Gomo, and then a purple sector at the start of the lap for Nash. So they're about to come. Oh, that's Nash backing out there, isn't it?
And there's Gomersall popping out behind our totem. Could this be a change at the top? Gomersall.
It is.
He does it by 1/10 of a second.
What a lap.
The unit racing Ford Mustang has displaced Nash Morris after the checkered flag. Tommy Smith was just behind that crew of cars as well. He got to 7th. Jackson Rice to the finish line is 13th, outside the top 10.
What a lap. Just pulled the purple sector in the mid and the final for Ben, and just got it by the skin of his teeth. Obviously, Nash was on a good start to the lap, but obviously wasn't what he wanted, or made a mistake in the final sector, because we saw him back out to the right-hand side of the screen, but just did it when he needed to, didn't he?
We like that. We like those stories after the race, although the margin is enormous covering the top 5 as the checkered flag waves over the balance of the field that's now greeting the flag. Gomersall scores only his 2nd career pole. His last one was at Winton last year in the final weekend of the year. Morris will join him on the front row. Behind will be Buckley, Hume and Heinrich. Scott Dornan cruising back towards the pits now. 14th position, he'll take that. Patrick Neville improved after the checkered flag as well. But that stops the Chevy Camaro onslaught of pole positions this year, and Mustang finally break through for their first one. And that gives us our 5th different pole sitter from as many sessions.
That's awesome, isn't it? That was a good session. Wasn't lighting up our time screens as much as I thought it was going to at the end there, but certainly gave us a bit of interest with Ben Gomersall. But it's 1.1 seconds. Well, one second from Nash back to 3rd with Alice and the rest of the field there. So there's a big disparity, and it just goes to show these conditions are so hard, and they only got one practice session this morning, and I think the guys who see at the top is because they just went out there and experimented the most. That's what you find in the week. Whatever you experiment the most and find where that grip is usually who can take the top of the timesheets.
Front row last year for this round for Gomersall on the first day. He finished 2nd and 3rd in those respective races. Keep in mind, we qualify again tomorrow, so this will set the grid for the first race of the weekend. And then the result of that will set the second race later tonight. Tomorrow we reset the field and go qualifying again. So it's like 2 rounds in one weekend. It still counts overall for a round win. But I do love this change to the qualifying setup for 20, 25 and 26. Gives us more pole positions, gives us more to talk about.
Yeah, and it gives you, as a driver, if you have a bad Saturday, you can have a chance to rectify it on the Sunday, which you got a chance to drive forward in the races, but to get a chance to actually qualify again and get a better starting position, it's it's a bit of a miracle when you have an average start to your weekend. So I love that format. It's a really, really good idea. And
great job to this guy.
How good's that livery look?
Yeah.
It's like a matte. It's
the flat
a matte.
look now. The
yeah.
flat matte look.
It's so cool.
Ash Jarvis quickly into pull the belt down there for us. Ash, former champion, former round winner. He swept the round back in 2018 here for his own team. Well done to Benny Gomersall, who's on the podium here in Super 2 last year when he was driving at 888. And puts himself in the best possible position for when the lights go out here later this afternoon in race number 1. I wouldn't say we'd be completely in dark descent, but I think we might get the sunset we've been looking for if those clouds break away. 22 cars in attendance for round 3 of the TA2 Muscle Car Series, a series that continues to grow with cars and quality drivers all lining up to be part of this incredible series, known worldwide for its door-to-door racing. You know what it's like.
Do you call it door-to-door? It's like half a door. You know, it's
Yeah.
only got half a door, but you're
Panel
right.
to panel.
Panel to panel.
Hey, Matty, let's go to you with a very happy Ben Gomersall.
Yeah, he's got a big smile on his face. Drying conditions out there, even though it's starting to rain again, but 15 thousandths of a second. Incredible to get him in the last moments of that qualifying session.
Yeah, it was so tight there. Really tricky conditions, actually. Yeah, some parts were wetter than others, so you really just had to time it. Luckily, I got him behind Nash there at the end, followed him. Actually got a clean run, so no traffic. And yeah, car was mega, so I can't thank the whole Ash Jarvis crew enough.
He's got to put a bit of a mark down there, a bit of a tick of approval, because getting Nash Morris here at Sydney is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, you know how important pole position is in this category with the starting format. So, you know, off the front for tonight, hopefully we can have a good race.
Well, there you go, AC Delco pole position winner here for the TAT Muscle Cars, Ben Gomersall.
Nice job. Well done, Benny Gomersall, as he walks back into the garage, and they'll have a think about what to do now with that sun continuing to beam down on the Sydney Motorsport Park track. There is still some weather in the area. Wouldn't be Sydney in July without a bit of weather in the area. But well done to Benny Gomersall and Ash Jarvis Racing. Pole position for race number 1 coming up at just after 5 p.m. as we keep the qualifying theme going. Great to have Sports Compact neon lights powered by Exedy on the racetrack now. And here's the great Dan McCarthy.
Thank you very much, Matt Nolte. Very kind of you here this morning at Sydney Motorsport Park. This afternoon, sorry. As we can see, cars are on the track, qualifying already underway. These are the first flying laps that are currently being completed out there on the racetrack. Sports Compact, a local Victorian series, their first ever venture, not only to Sydney Motorsport Park, but also to New South Wales as well. And we're great to have them a part of the Hi-Tec Super Series this weekend. Neon lights in the name, and under lights we are going to see the neon Fast and Furious style lights underneath the cars. That will be a sight to behold in a couple of hours' time, but still got a few hours until the sun sets here at Eastern Creek, just to the west of the Sydney CBD. I've got a couple of pulsars on the screen at the moment. The number 88 out there on the circuit. Got more written on the side, but a late substitution. Tim Maynard jumping behind the wheel of that car, and I can see it is the lanky man himself, just to confirm, coming out of the final corner. A very good operator is the man behind the wheel. First few laps coming in, championship leader Linda Devlin at the top of the timesheets, but it's all going to change. Very different conditions to what they had earlier on in their practice sessions. It's certainly a bit drier than what they had earlier on, but it's certainly not dry. We saw that in the TA2 Muscle Car Series. Oh, behind that, a big moment for Kirkham. I saw he was at about a 45-degree angle through turn number 1, which is never the preferred line there. Just caught it at the very back of the shot. And we've got such a range in this series, from your BMW E36s that we're looking at on the screen. We've got a Renault Megane in front. We've got a Mazda 323 behind. There is a lot of variety in this category that is formerly, or was formerly, known as 2-litre sports sedans. They've changed the name a little bit in the last couple of years and just opened the rules up, and it really has brought some very different machines, including this one on the screen. Car number 51, Nick Jones in his VW Scirocco. Former Victorian Formula V driver, has taken a very different pathway into where we are at the moment. To be in Sports Compact. Took his first win, actually, at the previous round at Calder Park Raceway. Got a big W in the books. And he's following, as I say, the championship leader, Linda Devlin, in her John Cooper Works Mini. Such variety, and that is what we love about this category. A few different classes, but we will touch on that over the course of this session. I see that the bonnet's wobbling around a little bit on the Nick Jones car, not stopping any performance, though. He goes to the top of the timesheets, and by quite a comfortable margin at the moment, ahead of Linda Devlin. Myself, Dan McCarthy, has just been joined by Matty Cav, who's made the mad rush from the TA2 paddock to be sitting alongside me. Matty Cav, nice to see a bit of variety amongst our categories, a new category with the Super Series.
Yeah, we do. Welcome here to Sydney, don't we? And like you say, based in Victoria predominantly. I know a few of the drivers have ventured up here to Sydney Motorsport Park in various other categories throughout their time, but they'll, I'm sure they're going to get around the Gardner Circuit. I mean, 11 corners, 3.93 kilometres. It's a pretty good one when you venture out of Victoria to come and visit.
Absolutely it is. They were chomping at the bit when this was first announced on the calendar. Everybody highlighted in big red pen. That's the one. Of all the ones to do this year, that is the one. Under lights as well. These guys haven't done any night racing to this point in time, mainly based at Winton and at Calder Park. So for these guys to be racing under lights as well is another big tick first for them. So a weekend of firsts for this series. There's no doubt about that. But at the moment, it's the Scirocco driver on the screen at the top from Linda Devlin. Tim Maynard, the Pulsar driver we saw have the big, hairy, scary moment at turn 1. Declan Kirkham is in position number 4. And then we have the number 96, the Nissan Silvia of Kurt McCready in position number 5. Neil Chesterton in 6th. Lee Nuttall in 7th. Nick Kerr in 8th. Claudia Lennox and Tim Hosey rounding out the top 10. I'll tell you what, there's quite a few people that have stepped out of Formula V's to be in this series. Not only Nick Jones at the top, but also Nick Kerr and Claudia Lennox as well. So that's really cool to see a group of guys from the same category moving into this category. Across the line, no improvement that time through for Nick Jones. Linda Devlin did improve, but Jones still leads out in front at the moment. But Matty Cav, look at the timing screen in front of us. It's green everywhere, purple sectors from pretty much everybody.
Yeah, it'll start to improve out there. There was some rain starting to come down just as I ran back into the commentary box, but it was just minor droplets here and there. So I think we're going to see a drying track out there. The question will be is whether they've decided to change up any of their tyres, because earlier today we saw the gamble go out there and it looked like a lot of them running the racing slicks, because it's been that moment throughout the weekend or throughout the day where it's been wet one moment, dry the next, wet again, dry again. So where do you sit when it comes to qualifying? Do you take a bit of a leap of faith, I suppose? Watching the TA2 race, and they would have been sitting down there in the form-up grid, and do they have a look at it? As Jones looks like just getting the fastest lap now as they go around once again, and Will McCready just behind in the 96 as well, so just on the purple sector in sector number 3. So Devlin now relegated back into 3rd position, so she'll be working to get on top of that once again, and she can try and get that little Mini Cooper S around.
Absolutely. She's been the form driver so far this year. She was right in the title fight throughout last year, but just missed out to James Harris in his Nissan Bluebird. But this year, she won round 1. She's pretty solid as well in round number 2. She finished on the podium in all 4 races, so comes in with quite a comfortable championship lead, actually, coming into this weekend. Here is the 405 machine of Aaron Lloyd, BMW E36 318. And where is he going to go as he comes across the line? Is there going to be an improvement? There was, but stays in that same position at the moment. And we look at another of our BMW drivers coming through. This car I've seen in a few 300k races around this circuit. It's David Bailey, the Victorian, behind the wheel. Oh, Claudia Lennox. Claudia Lennox has come to a stop on the run down the hill towards turn number 4. That's a little short shoot, the infield section that she's found herself on. And, oh, she looped it just in front of Neil Chesterton, who had to take evasive action as he kept it out the wall, I think, just about. But that was great evasive action from the Renault driver.
Yeah, that's very hard too on wet grass to try and pull that up. McCready, though, looks like he might be on another lap here. It's going to be close. Doesn't quite get there in the third sector. Won't improve on that one, unfortunately, in the 90. Oh, no, goes to the top of the table. Didn't see that come through. So he had the first sector, was his purple sector. Done the personal best in sector number 2, but come through with a 156.21. So now half a second in front of Jones. Devlin, wonder whether she'll be out there looking for somewhere to go as McCready goes fastest lap. Remembering during racing there is an extra point up for grabs, but the Sylvia's looking very balanced at the moment. This was a slide. Okay.
Balanced, is it?
Well, that wasn't. The old Sylvias, they're often used in the drifting world as well, so I'm not surprised to see be able to handle a little bit of slip and slide out there at the moment. But yes, what is the line you need to take? And if you have to get off that nice line or it's starting to dry out, where do you go and what risks do you take?
You can see the grass and dirt in the front of the grille of the number 47 machine. This is an ex-Clio Cup car, actually. They've done a little bit to it since then, but very cool to see. Very old spec Clio Cup car. Always goes well. Neil Chesterton, a very handy steerer, and I expect him to be towards the pointy end throughout the course of this weekend. Didn't actually take part in the last round, but a good solid opening round, 2 fourths and a 6th place to kick off his campaign. But good to have him back here in round number 3 of the season. As he heads down the hill, he's just gone PB in sector number 1, but so has Tim Maynard. I tell you what, he is so quick, Tim Maynard, in a Pulsar. Whoa, and Chesterton now losing the rear. If in doubt, power out. You can see the steering lock in there, couldn't you, midway through the corner. That was a very good save. Lucky he was in a front-wheel drive machine there.
Yeah, keep steering it and keep the power on, hope for the best. He's pulled that up straight too. So considering they do a lot of their rounds of Victoria, they would be used to changing conditions. Because you never know whether it's going to rain, be sunny, hail. You just never know. Here's a replay of it too. This is the moment. Doesn't really get out of the power too much too, and we listen to that live either. Just goes over there. Might have just found a little bit of rain there, depending on what tyre he's got on there to try and pull that up. Chesterton,
a mistake.
Anyway, there we go. That's a mistake, yeah, and that's unfortunate there for Kurt McCready.
Yeah, McCready just in a little bit too deep down there at turn number 2. The Bond Bend, as it's often referred to, the hairpin hardest braking point on this 3.93 kilometre circuit. It's one of the best circuits in the country. It's fast, it's flowing, it's European style, and he certainly gave it a red hot crack down there. But we see Chesterton come around the final corner. Still a PB in sector 2, despite that huge moment we saw through the middle sector of the lap. He comes to the line. Where's it going to put him? He puts him up a couple of positions. No, remains in position number 7 there.
Jones has moved up into position number 3, was right behind there too. So I've just seen him move up 3, Devlin into 4, Kirkham into 5. So McCready's still leading us over Maynard at the moment. So see out on track, there we go. Devlin starting to find a little bit of clean space potentially. Can try and get that Mini out there for a clean lap. I don't think it's going to happen this time around, just having a look at the times.
Got a couple of purple sectors out there, including Nick Jones, and he goes to the top in the Scirocco. So Nick Jones moves back to the front, and look at the margin. It's got to be drying out there, and quickly, by 3 seconds. He's blown the rest of the field out the way.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage, isn't it? 3 seconds, they've got a lot of work to do. I'll be surprised if they didn't come into the pits there and potentially let some tyres there. We did see a lot of tyre bleeding in the TA2 qualifying session as well. As they pull out on the line there, that's Steve Howard.
The GOAT of sports compact competition, 7-time champion. But last couple of years, certainly not had things his own way with James Harris, Linda Devlin, and several other competitors jumping on board in recent seasons. Howard has really had his work cut out, but certainly I expect to see him one of the front runners this weekend. He's always struggled a little bit with that car in the wet, and we're seeing that this weekend in qualifying straight away, down in P14. If it dries out tonight like we expect it will, look out for that car to move forwards.
We
can still make a lot of horsepower out of a little 2-litre car as well. So that will come into play. And we always know that the wet conditions are always the equaliser between horsepower. On a nice balanced car, if you can try and keep it out there on the track, that's exactly what you need to do. We're not chipping. We've chipped away at that 3-second lead. They have a look at Greedy now. That's down to 0.7 of a second. Maynard's still out a little bit. Devlin doesn't seem to be improving too much at the moment. A 1:52.25 for Jones, though, still leading us in this qualifying session. And we're down to the final seconds as well. So whoever gets across the line will get themselves another lap at the moment. I don't think it's going to happen for Kirkham. He's at the back section here, so he's not going to get around in time. So the checkered flag will be coming out now. So those that have started a fresh lap, let's hold on and see if they can improve. As McCready goes 2 purple sectors now from second position. He had 7/10 to find, and it looks like he has found the dry spots out there, and he is pushing hard in this final lap.
Absolutely he is. And as well, look at the timing. It's all green sectors. It's all going to come down to this final lap of the session. Here comes McCready. The question is Tim Maynard held him up there in that final sector? We're going to find out if that has affected him at all. Comes to the line. McCready, no, goes to the top still by 1.2 seconds. Tim Maynard, no improvement there in the final sector, but did improve the lap overall. But he remains in position number 3. Linda Devlin comes across the line. She's just 4/10 away from Tim Maynard's time. She remains in P4, but there's still times out there being set. Nuttall is on a good one. Chesterton's gone PB in sector number 1 as well. As we look towards some of our BMW drivers, and here comes Nuttall, going to move to the inside. Is this going to put him up a couple of places? Comes across the line, big improvement, but just misses out on a top 5 starting position. He'll be starting alongside fellow Pulsar competitor Kirkham on the 3rd row of the grid if it stays the way it is. And I think, Matty Cav, it looks like we've seen a large bulk of our times now.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see anyone improve too much. Chesterton is still out there according to our timing screens, but I don't think he's going to improve on that one, just judging by the getting around. Might have slowed down just a little bit. He's 3 seconds off in that second sector already. So they are starting to pull these cars up now. That is the qualifying for your sports compact here today, and it's going to set the grid for later on tonight when they come out under lights.
Yes, certainly will. Can't wait to see the neon lights really glowing underneath these cars. It's going to be something to behold as we see the number 51 come to the line. That was Kerr, Nick Kerr. Kerr and Jones often share that Mazda I just saw in 300k races. So, he did improve. Just 1 place right at the death there, just moving up ahead of Kearns in the Toyota Corolla there. So nicely done on the final lap. Phelan comes across the line, also improves, but remains where he was in position number 12. Certainly an eventful session. Fastest times came right at the end.
Yeah, a couple of moments there, weren't there, for some cars that nearly made contact, but they've got through it. Kurt McCready will take out the pole position here with a 1:51. Then it's Nicholas Jones, Tim Maynard, Linda Devlin down in 4th position, our current championship leader. Declan Kirkham in 5th, and it's Lee Nuttall, Neil Chesterton in 7th, Tim Hoisey in 8th, and it's Nicholas Kerr in 9th. 10th is Andrew Coons. There's your top 5 rows after qualifying here for Sports Compact. The first time we've seen him at the Hi-Tec Oil Super Series. Claudia Alexis in 11th as we go a little bit further back down the field there, back to Phelan, Bailey, Cartwell, Howard, Lloyd, Woodward and Reed to round out our 18 cars here for Sports Compact. Still great to see a crowd starting to appear here on a Friday afternoon at Sydney Motorsport Park. Considering the conditions, there is a little bit of cover if you want to go up on top of pit lane there, but it's just a fantastic track. As you can tell, it's been some good weather here at the moment. Plenty of green grass still to get around, and when that pond out the back is still filled up there for the ducks as well. So we're really going to turn things on later on tonight. Formula Ford is next out on track. Can't wait to see what they can unveil, and I'm sure Dan McCarthy and Scott Pye are going to do a fantastic job with this one.
It's going to be a good session, I've no doubt about that, but such challenging conditions out there as we begin to see a bit of a dry line forming. Melinda Price is down there with our pole sitter from Sports Compact.
Yes, I've just ambushed Kurt McCready. What a session. Tell us about that, and what a wonderful last lap.
Yeah, thank you. It was pretty wet out there and pretty greasy. It was definitely hard work in the car, trying to keep it straight. It was heaps of fun though. It's first time with the Sports Compact Series as part of the Hi-Tec Oil Series, and I've had a blast in qualifying. It's been awesome.
I saw that slide. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it certainly was. There was a few. The one through turn 1 at the end was a bit scary for me. A lot of opposite lock, but managed to hold on to it and come through, so it's pretty cool.
So what have you got for the race? What's the plan?
Well, if it dries out, hopefully a fast car. It'd be nice to get some dry running, especially for all these guys who've come on from Victoria, to show you what the circuit's really like. But under lights, it's going to be awesome here.
Yeah, well, brilliant job. I can't wait to watch the first race.
No worries, thank you.
Well done.
Track we celebrate this weekend 40 years Mike Borland has been in Formula Ford, a well-known name, and we caught up with him earlier on today.
Formula Ford is well known for producing some of the most fantastic race car drivers in Australia and around the world. Names like Chaz Mostert, Daniel Ricciardo, Mark Webber and things like that. But we've got to celebrate some milestones because some of these chassis actually built here. And the man beside me, Mike Borland, we're actually celebrating 40 years of you actually building a Spectrum chassis in Formula Ford. How does that feel?
It doesn't feel like it's been that long, really. So, I guess I'm pretty lucky just working on race cars and being able to build them. It's fantastic. Been really lucky.
You actually developed this when you were in your early 20s. What was it like back then to take that leap of faith that you were going to, build a chassis car like this that was going to compete with Formula Fords, which now you sell them all over the world?
Yeah, I think it was just a challenge, and I'd been working on Formula 2 cars at the time and wanted to take the next step and make my own thing. I built my own go-karts and things over time, so it was sort of the next logical step, and Formula Ford was a great place to start.
And I suppose one of the things with Formula Ford, it hasn't really declined when it comes to talent, because right now we've got some really great young drivers here in Australia now starting to prove their racecraft.
Absolutely. I mean, and us having the history of running people 25 years ago, like the Winterbottoms, and then seeing kids like Kobe Williams come through last year and see how he's progressing through. It's the depth of talent is still there, that's for sure, and still where you go to really upskill yourself the most.
Mike, it's great to have all the enthusiasm that you've had, that it's lasted 40 years, all the great success, and of course Jamie Rowe this weekend will have the 40 years on the side of his car, so it's a great celebration here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Yep, yeah, it's been great that Brian and Jamie let me put the stickers on the side of the car to celebrate it. I really appreciate that.
40 years of the Formula Ford Spectrum chassis, and hopefully to another 20 or 30 still to come.
Yeah, great chat with one of the legends of Australian motorsport, a man that the guy alongside me knows very well, Scott Pye. A real big, momentous occasion. The fact it's been 40 years, it's hard to believe that Spectrum's been around that long.
It is, and mate, great to be back here and commentating on the Yokohama Australian Formula Ford Championship, and seeing pieces like that on someone like Mike Borland. It means a lot to me. I actually get a little bit emotional thinking about my time in Formula Ford and being fortunate enough to know Mike as well as I do. I lost my dad the year I was competing in Formula Ford for Mike Borland, and he was probably one of the most... it's difficult to describe, but he was one of the most supportive people and really helped me get back on track through introducing me to Dr. Noel Blundell, sports psychologist that I continued to work with after that. But it's a time in our career as young drivers where we are in our formative years, and Mike plays more of a role than I think even he would realise. He's very special to me when I look back on my career. I'm so grateful for Mike and what he does for us young drivers coming up, not only as just someone that builds these race cars and does an amazing job, but also as a mentor, a human, and someone that, for me, I know in my darkest days was there. Anytime I needed someone on the end of the phone, Mike was the guy that was there for me. So huge thank you to him, and congratulations, 40 years. I mean, to make any business sustainable and successful like he has, it's a credit to him, his wife Tracy. Paul Ziddy as well was someone there through that period for me that was amazing. So that whole crew at Spectrum have just done a spectacular job, and congratulations on 40 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo those remarks. You may have just seen down there at the hairpin, a off-track excursion for car number 5. That is Giuseppe Imbrogno. Moved to the inside onto the wet side of the circuit and could not get it slowed as he tried to overtake our championship leader, Ollie Wickham, in this qualifying session. Scott, these are very difficult conditions out there at the moment. There's a bit of a dry line, but it's not dry, is it?
They're very treacherous conditions, that's for sure. You can make the smallest of mistake. You get offline one tyre width and you are off the track. And when you do go off the track, like we just saw, there's no pulling these cars up. The grass is wet, it's muddy, they've got a low ride height, so the chance of actually causing a red flag as well are very high. But these cars are very difficult in dry conditions to get the most out of. They sit a little bit on top of the road. They don't have any aerodynamic grip. It's all mechanical grip that you're relying on. As you can see there, stepping out nice and sideways, Seth Burkhart's there. But it is a category where you're learning your craft and your racecraft. But in these conditions, these are probably the hardest cars you will ever have to drive. And they don't have a wet tyre either. This is effectively an intermediate tyre. It's good for it's worse. It's not an intermediate. It's a slick that can run in the wet as well. So it doesn't offer much grip in the wet, and it's not the grippiest tyre in the dry either.
That's what produces such good racing, though, isn't it? We're looking at the man who's gone purple in sector number 1. But I imagine, Scott, we're going to just see if it stays dry. Times will just progressively keep improving lap on lap.
Well, I was surprised actually with the TA2 cars that they weren't able to improve as much as I thought they would. I did see that Ben Gomes on the last lap improved, but some of the cars, including Nash Morris, did it on lap 3. That you'll be unlikely to see in Formula 4. This tyre, the Yokohama, it's been great this season. I think lap 5, 6, they've still been able to produce a lap time. So as the track dries out, these drivers will be able to improve as we see Burkhardt go to the top right now on a 40.941.
18 thousandths of a second faster than Ollie Wickham, but this man on the screen is he's just in second in the championship at the moment, but he's not in P2 out there on the racetrack using all the road on the outside of the corner. He's currently in position number 4. Directly behind the number 16 of Hunter Salvatore. He's just gone purple, actually, in the final sector. So a good lap from the youngster there as we see Demoweek come onto the pit straight on what is his best lap so far, but they're trading times out there at the moment. Brad James is in the lane at the start of this session for a good couple of minutes. He is now back out there and he's completing his first flying lap, so I expect the Kobe Williams Motorsport driver to move up the order, that is for certain. A lot of these guys, Scott, were here just 3 weeks ago when there was a local round of New South Wales State Formula Ford. All the Aussie Championship drivers that we see here today, but 3 of them, all but 3, came to that round, and they were all using it quite simply as a test for this weekend.
It's great if you can do that. Some of the gaps in every Australian championship around the country has sometimes got gaps which are a little bit unfortunate in our championship. So if you can fill it, especially in these formative years for these drivers where they are developing their craft, if you can fill it with another race, regardless of just trying to tune the car or yourself for this one circuit, I encourage it. I think it's great if you've got the budget to do the extra round. To do a State Series round and throw it in there, whatever that might be, is always a good opportunity to get a little bit more miles under your belt. To see someone going off in the background, rejoining now onto the front straight.
I think that was Xavier Henderson who ran off the circuit. It was indeed Xavier Henderson, who has had a bit of bad luck recently, a few mechanical issues, a couple of incidents, but he's shown really good pace. When he's finished, he has finished very strongly. As we see a replay, so look at the back top of the screen, just running a couple of wheels off and then very much grass tracking.
You could see the car in front was slightly wide, had a little bit of spray, so I'd say out of the groove, and then I think that he's just followed him in there. That happens quite a bit. You're judging yourself off the car in front sometimes, and you can... It's almost like following someone into a crash. That happens quite regularly. Keep an eye on the totem pole. It's funny, we'll see everyone at the moment going purple first sector, and then it'll switch to a green, because I feel like the very next car is able to improve. Isaac Demoweek was P1 in the final practice of the day, so it's worth keeping an eye on him. He's third at the moment.
Currently, we're looking, though, at the man who's just gone purple in sector number 1. This man's had a good couple of weeks since he was last with us. He was signed as a 888 driver, effectively as part of their junior program. And then, as well as that, he went and drove in Mustang Cup up in Queensland, and he had a very, very good weekend, taking quite a few race victories as well. So this man is no doubt about it, a star of the future, and to be signed by 888, well, compliments don't come much better than that.
Absolutely, and we've spoken a few times here in the booth, Dan, about the talent that's in this field right now, and Ollie was someone particularly at Queensland Raceway, I think his racecraft really stood out to me. And it wasn't long after that event that they did sign him to AAA Race Engineering. He's obviously got Shaw & Partners Financial Services on the side of his race car as well. So there's the link there between Earl Evans at Shaw & Partners as an owner of AAA Race Engineering. And so I think that it's great to see young drivers like this getting scouted. I think I mentioned it. It's surprised me over the last couple of years that we haven't seen supercar teams look at Formula Ford recently. I think the competitiveness of the championship and what AASA is doing here with the partnership with Yokohama is putting it back on the pedestal that it deserves to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. It's one of the feature categories, isn't it, this year on the bill, the Yokohama AASA Australian Formula Ford Championship. A few different formats being utilised. We have a qualifying on both days and then 2 races on both days as well, with Sundays notably being a shootout, a one-lap shot at qualifying, which has proved very popular amongst all of the drivers. But the Saturday races, or qualifying sessions I should say, have all been the traditional 15-minute session in duration.
Yeah, I think as well, it's such a good opportunity for these drivers to practice and simulate that one-lap shootout. These are their development years. It matters. Winning races on Sunday matters, but at the same time, it's about learning every time these drivers go on the racetrack. And here in Australia, supercars is achievable for some of these drivers. That's what they're going to be aiming towards. And in supercars, you need to be very good at delivering one lap. So I think that it's great that the young drivers here are getting the opportunity to hone their skill effectively over one lap, and then hopefully that carries forward with them into supercar success as well in the future. If not, if they do go into Europe or America, fantastic. But here in Australia, learning that one lap skill is pivotal.
2 laps back-to-back, fastest for Ollie Wickham, and he's now nearly half a second clear of Seth Burkhardt, himself improved last time by, but this man is on an absolute flyer. He's only 3/10 down to the second sector, fastest first sector, lost over a quarter of a second in the middle sector, but he really has been one of our stars as well this year, the lanky lad. Isaac Demoweek comes around the corner. He was racing in Townsville in the GR Cup last weekend, got quite a few top 10 finishes. Where's this going to put him? It puts him up onto the front row of the grid alongside Ollie Wickham, a GR Cup graduate. So a couple of guys that are well known for driving 86s up the pointy end in this session.
No purple sectors there, but he did put his lap together very well to be just 0.13 off of Ollie Wickham. Ollie seems to be really quick at the moment, but we will see now 2.5 minutes remaining. The track is going to start to dry out more and more, and this is where it will come into their own. I think that the last car of the front runners that finishes their lap will be the fastest, I would say. It's that close out there. I mean, Ollie Wickham did have a 4/10 gap, we must say, over Demoweek prior to that lap. So he's certainly in a league of his own at the moment. He is purple as well. He's going purple as we speak.
Very, very tight look. Burkhardt's just 42 thousandths down at the end of the second sector, and there's a lot of time that can be made in the final sequence of corners. Out in front, though, Wickham's going to go faster again. He improves by a couple of tenths, and Burkhardt slots between he and Demoweek into position number 2. Here comes Demoweek now. No, sorry, it's Xavier Henderson. Similar looking livery. Side by side there. You're just going to be costing yourself, I think, around Sydney Motorsport Park. Would I be right?
With the slipstream, sorry?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. You need to time it, and it's hard in these conditions as well, because you want to give the car in front a gap, but it's hard to judge how big that needs to be, because as we've seen, you only need to be slightly offline to lose a chunk of time. So in these conditions, I actually think it's often better to do your own thing and not chase a tow. But ultimately, if you get lucky, that can be the difference maker between first or second on the grid.
Absolutely. Just popped up into P6 is Jet Lester. We saw him at Queensland Raceway have a big rollover. We were fortunate to see him walk out unscathed. That shows how safe these modern-day Formula Ford machines are. He qualified 6th in that race, and he said at the time that said to me earlier on today, he just wants to get back out there, get back on the track and show the pace that he really did show at Queensland in qualifying, but never got to really show it across the course of the weekend. Car repaired, all fixed, all good to go this weekend, and yeah, comfortably inside of the top 10 with less than a minute to go.
A lot of the drivers you will have seen on the totem were going red on their previous lap. They will be setting themselves up for this, trying to get a gap to the car in front to make sure they can finish it out well. As you can see, 29 seconds to go. Wickham has gone green in the first sector, purple in the second sector, red in the third. He has actually, no, he's improved up there.
Yeah, despite going slower in that final sector.
5/10 of a second, so his worst sector in the final sector of the lap, but he has improved the gap to P2 to 5/10 of a second.
Yeah, absolutely correct. As Will Lowing goes up to position number 4. Great job from he. As sideways through the ultra-fast turn number 1. Checkered flag is out, so this is everyone's final shot at a qualifying flying lap. Ollie Wickham has just gone purple again in sector number 1. As we look at Ryan DeBore coming around the final corner, he's improving event on event in his first car racing championship this weekend. Somebody's come into the lane. Demmelwheat moves up to second. It's all happening. It's all chopping and changing here.
Wickham's done an unbelievable job here to time this because he's going to get another lap in. He is purple in the first sector. He's looking great in the second sector as well. Shout out to Ryan DeBore as well. You cannot underestimate how difficult these conditions are in his rookie season. He's a young lad. This could very well be the first time he has actually seen conditions like this. So very steep learning curve for him to be in the Yokohama Australian Formula 4 Championship this year.
Into the hairpin in the middle sector. We'll get a time then at the end of sector number 2. Rio Campbell we're looking at this point in time. He's tucked right in behind Sam March. But around the final corner, Wickham, is he going to improve further and put this beyond any doubt? He comes to the line. He's already got a near half a second advantage. Comes across the line, and he does improve a little bit once again. Now a 38.92. So just by 100th, but nevertheless, it's still an improvement.
It's tight behind him as well. There we go. Will Lowing jumps up to P2, just 0.2 of a second off Ollie Wickham. That track is really coming in. Hunter Salvatore jumps to P2 as well, 39.09. He's only 0.17. Has really closed up. We said that it's going to come to fruition at the end of the session. It certainly has.
Brad James as well just moved up in the Kobe Williams Motorsport machine on the outside of the third row of the grid. So a great job from him there as well. So lots of improvements right at the death in that session. In the end, we were saying it was around half a second, but with those late improvements, it was a margin of under 0.2 of a second. But once again, it is Ollie Wickham that takes pole position, and that is his 4th of the season. And he will be absolutely delighted with that one in challenging conditions. Hunter Salvatore, a season-best second position for him, ahead of Will Lowing, who took pole here for the state round a few weeks ago. Demmelwheat will come off the second row in 4th, ahead of Seth Burkhardt, Brad James, Jamie Rowe, Rio Campbell, Sam March and Xavier Henderson. The top 10 within a second. Will Hickey comes out of Speedway. He didn't like those conditions. He finished in 11th, ahead of Jet Lester, Giuseppe Imbrogno, Lockie Beneath, Caleb Bellac, Tabitha Ambrose, and the rookie Ryan DeBore rounding out the field. Good little session, that one. But notably, Scott Pye, everyone really kept it out of trouble. No real spins, no real accidents. That was a good, clean session from these youngsters.
They did a great job, actually. And it was interesting to see with 3 to go, people driving to a gap to what was in front, trying to time the run at the end of the session. It's difficult conditions, though. To be out there pushing every single lap and not make a mistake in that condition is very, very tough. So great job, and to peak at the right time. All of them did a very good job of that.
Yeah, absolutely, they did. Earlier on today, we spoke to a man who's coming back from injury in the Australian Innovation Race Car Series. Jeff Taunton was a front runner last year, and he's back in season 2026.
We've come down to the Innovation Race Car pit here to catch up with a man who's been missing for quite a few months. We missed at the end of last season as well, Jeff Taunton. A return back to racing after a big incident last year in August. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. The physio's got me on a pretty high intensity program. But yeah, I've got a lot of unresolved issues. So yeah, we're back.
There's always a lot of smiles when we come and see you in the pits. Has there already been a bit of banter going between you and Jeff Emery to kick things off for the weekend?
Not with Jeff Emery, but my big mate DC, Darren Curry. Axel's there as well. But yeah, I've got to sneak up on them. But yeah, DC certainly gives me a hard time. We've got a great rivalry between us. But yeah, it's good to have everyone back. We're getting the A-team back together again, so it's good.
This time at home, just watching the racing, obviously, have you had a chance to reflect and see what exactly might give you a bit of an advantage here at Sydney this weekend?
No, there's not advantage. It's just annoying sitting in the lounge chair, certainly watching all the other boys race. But it comes back to, like anything, you have to do it a lot. I think before my accident, I was racing every 3 weeks. So you're on it. There's no doubt about it. Whether it be these cars or anyone else's cars, you must be racing all the time to be on the money. But having a great car to do it in and a great series, it was painful watching.
It's great to have you back at the track. I'm sure it's going to be a barrel of laughs this weekend having you as part of the IRC crew, and we can't wait to see how you go.
Yeah, thank you very much.
One of the great characters of the Australian Innovation Race Car Series. Great to have him back here at Sydney Motorsport Park. We've got not only innovation race cars out there, but also some invited machines as well. Some old school GT3 machines from 2020 and older. So older spec GT3 cars and a couple of cup cars out there as well. Going to spice up the action, no doubt, around the course of this weekend. Danny Studdard, we can see on the screens at the moment. Last weekend, he was at a very, very hot Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium, racing in the Fun Cup with quite a few others that are out there, including Curry, also the man behind him of Axel Donaldson, and Daniel Gillison as well, also raced in the Fun Cup. Those guys shared a car. In fact, quite a few people here this weekend in the Hi-Tec Super Series raced in the Fun Cup just a week ago. The big 25-hour race at Spa. So great to have them make the trip back. I think a few jet-lagged competitors out there. All the Thomases did it as well. The two brothers, Dylan Thomas and Ruben Dan, as well, are legend car runners. They were also in that race, so it's really good that they've made the trip back in time for this weekend. But I tell you what, they'll probably be catching a cold with the temperature change that they've experienced in the last couple of days. But first couple of flying laps are being set. 15-minute session, this one, for driver A. You can have a second driver if you so wish. And that will be a session directly after this. That will be qualifying B for the B drivers. So that will be very short and sharp. So qualifying A sets the grid for race number 1 today. Qualifying B sets the grid for race number 1 tomorrow. Hope that makes sense to you at home. As we see, one of our stars in the invited category of Gartner, who's in the safety stop Lamborghini, once again roars down pit straight with the glorious howl of the V10 engine. Sounds absolutely magnificent here, particularly with the echo off the grandstand down pit straight. And it's good to see him back out. I tell you what, he's going to be a one to watch, I think. He's going to take the fight to the innovation race cars around a wet Sydney Motorsport Park. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Jeff Emery leads the way in the IRC series, but he has been challenged all season long by the man on the screen, the Hi-Tec Oils entry of Lee Stibbs, and it's those two at the top of the timesheets once again. Myself, Dan McCarthy, is joined by Matt Kavanagh. We've really enjoyed the series this year, haven't we? It's really stepped up in season 2026.
Yes, I think obviously Emery and Stibbs have really lit up the rivalry there as well, and to have Taunton joining us back into that'll throw a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons, won't it? Yeah. Have someone with a similar speed. And just outside, John Goodacre has been doing a really good job this season. He's just, it's that 1 or 2% the difference there. I went and spoke to him earlier, and he goes, it's just because they're a little bit younger than me. I don't think so. I think you've still got a fair bit in there to go. So we'll wait and see how he goes over the weekend. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how they end up after this one. But it's we saw them go out in the practice sessions earlier, and a few. Ooh. Oh no, that's already turned around. That's not good.
Yeah, that's Hollinger, yeah. John Hollinger, who's running a few cars in Formula Ford as well this weekend, but he's facing at a less than ideal angle, shall we say, on the exit of the hairpin. Fortunately, he's got that facing back in the right direction. No damage, just a little bit of a bruised ego, I think, potentially there. But no, he's back on the road. And all good. Of course, this man has been suffering a lot with braking problems so far this year, Matty Cav. He's had a lot of shuddering issues, or they think anyway it's from the brakes, but it's been shuddering a lot. Hopefully they've got on top of that since the last round. Of course, a couple of months off, Medicav, good time to do a little bit of work to the car and make sure it's all pristine.
Yes, and look, these cars always look fantastic when they hit the track, and they do such a good job of preparing these innovation race cars. Great they're built up there in Queensland as well, so a lot of parts available at the track. As we know, Emery, though, he actually took both pole positions here last year at our Sydney round, which was the end of May, so you would look to think that he would probably be right up there in the top 3 when it comes to time again this year, knowing that Lee Stibbs joined us a little bit later in the season, though. We haven't seen him do a lap around here in an innovation race car.
That's what I was about to say. Oh, big twitch of oversteer through Corporate Hill there, through the fast left hand of the rear end there, just stepping out on the West Coast Windows entry, and again, out of the hairpin. He is pushing hard, there's no doubt about that. Lee Stibbs has just gone purple in the first sector as well. But Jeff Emery, as you say, he did dominate in qualifying here last year, but he didn't have Jeff Taunton. He didn't have Lee Stibbs either, so it's a very different kettle of fish, shall we say, this weekend. He's up behind the number 51 Porsche of McPherson as they come across the line. An improvement from Emery? No. McPherson did improve and remains in position number 7. But this is the man flying out there at the moment. Moves up the inside of Darren Curry into the final corner. I'm not sure if he was bogged a little bit there. Maybe lost a fraction of time. Had to turn into the corner, I think, slightly earlier than he would have ideally liked. But let's see, as he comes to the line, he doesn't improve in that final sector. He improves on the time, but remains in second. I do think he lost a bit of time there, Matty Cav.
Yeah, he did improve a second overall, but you can see the changing conditions there. You'd expect Lee Stibbs. You know, normally him and Emery are within just a tenth or two of each other, no matter where we've gone around Australia so far. So I think, yeah, potentially he may have lost just a little bit of time. Alex Donaldson's coming in there as well, and good to see how he goes this week. Dr. Manu's back as well. Good to see him coming out. He'll be in the driver B by the looks of that one, so he'll be a little bit later.
Our South African visitors debuted with us last time out and back 4 more, which is really, really cool to see. As we see, John Goodacre comes into the pits, so he's doing maybe a bit of tyre pressure alterations, but Axel Donaldson, the fact he was being wheeled into the garage wasn't a great sign for me. Hopefully he's not having too many issues. We saw him have a couple of high-speed offs at the last round at Queensland Raceway. Hopefully it's a cleaner affair for him this time. There's no doubt, though, Axel Donaldson in the older spec Mark II machine certainly can drive a car, no doubt about that.
Goodacre in the pits as well as pulled in there. As we see, Emery just goes a little bit faster again. 1:35.839. I think he's only gone about 5 thousandths of a second faster on that lap. Like, it has been so minute.
I was just about to say, this man has gone purple in sector number 1. You spoke to him, we heard that interview with Jeff Taunton earlier on, and I said to you yesterday, I said, Jeff Taunton, I'm curious to know if it's going to take him a little bit of time to get back up to speed. Well, he's showing us it's not going to take any time to get back up to speed. Taunton is certainly out there to not just pick up the pieces, but to fight for race victories here this weekend. He lost a little bit of time in the middle sector, but this is, I think, going to put him onto the first row of the grid in P2. Oh, he just lost a fraction more time in the final sector. He slots into third, just a tenth of a second behind Lee Stibbs. Belinda Price is down there in the lane. How are you, Mel? Down to you.
I'm good, thanks. I can't say the same, sadly, for a very disgruntled looking Axel Donaldson. Problems with the 111.
Yeah, just having a few gremlins with the fuel pump sensors they're playing up on the car. We've got some fuel going into the pot. So we tried a few things differently by turning both fuel pumps on at once to see if we can get the gremlin out, but it's come back to bite me again. But unfortunately, that's the way it is sometimes. But the track's really coming good now. Unfortunately, it would have been good to get out there because it was horrendous this morning.
I was just about to ask you about that because a few cars went out on slicks and they came in for wets. You went out on wets. What are the conditions?
I thought I went out on wets was probably the sensible choice because it is starting to sprinkle again, as you see, and it's offline, it's so wet. So the risk versus reward is not there, so might as well go out on wets and have a bit of fun at the same time, but we didn't come through today, unfortunately. But
Well, fingers crossed you can, of course, get all of this fixed and still have an amazing weekend.
yeah, we should be right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Yeah, he's pretty cool, calm and casual, isn't he, Alex Donaldson down there? He's been doing a lot of racing around the world, and like you say, back to Spa and doing the Fun Cup, so he's had a little bit of racing more. Oh, sorry, no, he wasn't there. It was Curry that went over there with him. Oh, Donaldson as well, yes.
Yeah,
Dave's over there. So they've had a great time over there. They've come back to Australia, and I reckon there will be a fair bit of jet lag, like you said yesterday. You still see Emery, though. He is steering this thing as he's having to grab it now. Remembering that they've got all the ABS and traction control, but sometimes you don't want to leave that all the way up, because if you turn the traction control all the way up, oh, there we go, he spun out. Oh, let's hope he keeps this and can turn it around. But if you turn the traction control all the way up, you're losing power all the time. So drivers don't tend to like it in conditions like this. We saw it at Malala where those bumps were. They weren't having a good time with the traction control kicking in. So they're going to take a couple of risks, I think, if they want to go fast out there.
Shows he's pushing. He might be on top by 1.3 seconds, but he is not settling for that lap time. Looks to me like he just turned in a little bit early, Matty Cav. He had a couple of wheels on the wet stuff on the inside on the run down the hill. Carried a bit too much speed, and that was the outcome there in the West Coast Windows entry. Nicely parked for the sponsorship with the camera there. Nicely parked by Emery. As the checkered flag comes out, so that is his final attempt, so he's potentially leaving himself vulnerable to those behind. But crucially for him, Stibbs is not on a PB lap, Taunton's not on a PB lap, Goodacre is in the pits, and Danny Studdett's not on a good lap either, so yeah, they might have let him get away with this one.
And Studdett's another one last time. He actually got a win here. Well, he was on the podium in quite a bit last time here in Sydney. He had 4 podiums out of 4 races, so just being outside there in 5th position, hopefully he can try and rectify that throughout some of the racing. Remember, we do have a shorter race, but the big 50-minute race tomorrow afternoon as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got 2 endurance races and 2 sprint races over the course of the weekend for the Innovation race cars. Oh, you can see Danny Studdett's got the traction control turned down. That was very sideways out of the hairpin.
Taunton just goes second up there, so he's pulled out the fastest sector, number 3, and Taunton is now second on our timing screen, 0.14 of a second just behind him.
Wow, he pulled that one out, didn't he? There was no improvement in sector number 1. We thought it was done, finished, but no, Taunton pulls one out and moves up onto the front row of the grid. He'll just be going, oh, sector 1, that was where it was all lost. But no, great to see him back out there and right up the pointy end. Allen in the Porsche goes across the line. He moves up into position number 8 on the timing screen. So P8 for him, just behind this man, who looks to me like he's going to take out the GT element of Innovation race cars. All those above him are in Innovation race cars, so very nicely done by him.
Big person out there that was in there, and yeah, great to have all the invitational cars here once again this weekend to be part of the Innovation race cars as they get around the track here. Rees just on your screen at the moment in the 59 there. Bodyworks.
I think it's my favourite GT3 car. The McLaren looks absolutely fantastic. That car, 16th on the timesheets at the end of that session. His final lap was a personal best, but just a couple of hundredths away from Sartori, just ahead of him on the timing screens. But that was quite a enjoyable session. A couple of moments, most notably for the car on the screen, our pole sitter, Jeff Emery, a big lose down at turn 4. A big spin, but no harm done.
What changes now is we do have our driver B qualifying, like you say, that is for tomorrow's racing as well to kick things off. So there will be a couple of competitors, because obviously in the Innovation race car you can have 2 drivers, which helps share some of the costs of the racing, or potentially you just can't get there to do all the work in one weekend. So the second driver will get in some cases. For most of these drivers though, especially the front runners, they're going to turn these round because they're a single driver car in those. So it'll be interesting to see what changes they make between sessions, or whether someone is going to stay on the dries and drop those pressures right down, or if anyone's going to try and risk it. I don't, unless we see a lot more rain, I don't think anyone's going to want to put those wets back on at this point. There is that dry line starting to appear.
I said that McPherson took pole in the GTs. It was actually this car, the other Donaldson, Jake Donaldson, out there, finished in position number 6 outright and first in class. So he was actually GT3 class winner in that one. But it's Emery from Taunton, Stibbs, very, very tight between those top 3. And then Goodacre, a bit of a gap back to him in position number 4. Danny Studdard in P5. But Axel Donaldson ends that session only after a couple of laps, down in position number 18. He'll have a lot of work to do later on today.
So a very small amount of time for them to make some minor changes to these cars as some of the drivers change around. There'll be some words going on now. I think this is them having a good discussion, though, about the conditions out there and what needs to happen, because Taunton's actually helping him out. So he's back at the track and he's doing some driver training as well for some of the other people. So it looks like he might be sharing this car, is he?
It looks like it, but it's not written down on our entry list as him sharing, so we'll keep you informed of that one when the cars jump out onto the racetrack in a few moments' time. Look at how congested it is down there in the pits. He's going to have to park directly behind the curry machine, which is quite funny. A very packed pit lane. And Melinda Price is down there.
I am down here with Dr. Manu. Baptism of fire at Queensland in your first race. Now you're here out there in wet conditions. Tell us about that.
I must say I'm loving the wet. It's a leveling playing field. A lot of the elite drivers are now closer to us, so we're all kind of in the same time zone, which is just nice.
Well, your smile says that you've thoroughly loved that one. Tell us about the settings, and were you adjusting the aids and things throughout that session?
Oh, the session? Yeah, it was epic. I mean, as the water starts to go away, the grip starts to come, and you feel yourself just getting faster and faster, and then it's just a case of trusting yourself and not panicking.
And what advice did you give your co-driver just then as he jumped in the car?
I basically told him he can loosen out, because I had to loosen out the car because it kept cutting out too much, so we didn't get a clean run. And there were a lot of people spinning as well, which took away a lot of, which is positive, which means you're faster. So, nice feeling.
Well, great to see you looking so happy. Well done.
Always a pleasure, Mel. Thank you, thank you.
Okay, over to you, Scotty.
110 off, yeah. Haven't been racing for 8 months.
That's great, mate. Look, I'm down here with Jeff Taunton. You've done a spectacular job at the end of that session. As the track was drying, you were just telling me there's still a little bit wet out there, but you jumped to P2 right at the death's door.
Yeah, well, there's definitely standing water coming across the track in turn 1 and over the bridge to turn 4. But other than that, it's pretty good. The loop, that forgot the number of it, had to go back to first gear to rotate the car. It just refused to. The front tyre just wouldn't do what I wanted to do. But, hey, you're 36. You know, we're supposed to be doing 30s. But, yeah, being on the slick and doing that dry line, it worked. I think all the other guys are on wets. Not sure.
I saw you give some words of wisdom onto your co-driver. What are you telling him out there now? What would be the first thing you look for?
Get up onto the curb. You know, when we go over the tunnel and we can throw it in. Yeah, but get up onto the curb, because the dry line, and it's soaking wet 1 metre to the left. You get in that, you're done. So it was just a bit of a classic case of just keep it really, really tight, don't overdo it, and you'll be fine.
Ultimately, be patient in conditions like this as well, I'm sure, because it will just get better and better, providing it doesn't rain.
Well, it's so good having the ABS and traction control. Seriously.
I can imagine. Sometimes I wish I
used to do. It's a lot easier.
I tell you what, sometimes I would love to have it. Congratulations, mate. Great job in that final lap there.
Thank you.
Yes, well, he's handed over to the co-driver. Words of wisdom there. Get up on the curb, and yes, the drying conditions out there. Now, the question's going to be is, will we have a change of weather once again? Because we've seen it throughout the day, haven't we? It dries out, rain comes, dries out, rain comes. I think we're probably reasonably safe at this point throughout this session. It's only 12 minutes to get out there and get this qualifying session done for our driver B here for the Australian Innovation Race Cars. And, of course, all the invitational cars that have joined us here this weekend, like this McLaren here. And, look, it's just some beautiful machines down there. I think what it is they like to come and enjoy a track like Sydney Raceway, Sydney Motorsport Park. But also, when you go down the IRC pits afterwards, they are always having a good time.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they're often hard to track down because they're just having a good time in the warmth in the trailer. Oh no, Danny Studdard is off the circuit and he cannot get that back on. You just saw it bursting into wheel spin. I think it's bottomed out, unfortunately for him. He might need to reverse and try and have another crack at trying to get it back onto the road. But last round he went off the track and he caused a fire when his hot exhaust ignited the very dry grass at Queensland Raceway. I can safely say he won't be causing any fires by dribbling off the track this weekend.
He's done that a couple of times, hasn't he, this season already? he likes to get on the highlights reels. Yes. Danny Studdard. That's what we should call him, Mr. Highlights. Emery, obviously you're going to see the purple sector's first lap out there, so we'll just let them get into a bit of a groove. Hopefully Danny Studdard can get that car out of the mud.
He has.
Yes, he has. There he is. He's gone out of the bottom left. So now we'll just get Emery. I'm sure there's probably still a fair bit of temperature in those tyres, and I could see down when I was on pit lane a lot of the cars coming in, just that steam coming off the tyres. So they are still able to generate just enough heat out there to try and get some traction. West Coast windows now. This is the part he's going to have to go down the main straight. Is he going to take a different line there, and how much water is there down the main straight? He's going to want to get it done before turn 1 because, like Jeff Taunton just said, there is a little bit of a river going across. So watch out for that as he comes into turn 1 at over 200 kilometres an hour, and that left-hander as they just bite their tongue and hold on to it as they get through there.
That looks like Chris Pithert in the lane. He's helping out the Hi-Tec Motorsport team, not only in the Innovation Race Car Series, but also in TA2 as well. So a very busy man this weekend. Is the former Supercars driver and Supercars pole sitter as well, of course. But yeah, this weekend he's just lending a hand as he always does. There is his driver out there on the circuit, Lee Stibbs. We haven't said too much about him so far in these couple of qualifying sessions, but he's had a really good start to the season, hasn't he? He's certainly been quick fighting against Jeff Emery. Unfortunately, the last round for him, a couple of problems in the pits, a slow one on Saturday, and then one that was a little bit too quick on Sunday, which dealt him a severe penalty. And really, it's just those two moments really in the pits that have cost him the championship lead.
Yeah, you would have thought he would have actually taken that win, didn't you, when he went a little bit too long in the pits, and then unfortunately with that time penalty pushed him back a little bit in the points. But he's only behind him by 13 points overall in the season. We're only 2 rounds in. There's 6 rounds, but we are starting into that midway. So by the end of this weekend, you just need to see that consistency. You can't afford to drop out of that top 3, especially with Taunton coming back into the series, knowing how fast he was, how close him and Emery were. Now Lee Stibbs has to try and position himself somewhere in that little group of 3 and keep these points coming in, because Jeff Emery is looking pretty comfortable at the moment despite that late spin in the driver A session there for the qualifying.
I was about to talk about this car in the lane. We said that it was one of the front GT cars at the last round, Richard Gardner, in the Lamborghini. Unfortunately, he didn't set many times in that first session, and he was right towards the back of the field with Axel Donaldson, and he's already brought that car in this session. So hopefully there's not a problem for that Lamborghini, because boy oh boy do we like to see that thing circulate around any circuit, but particular Sydney Motorsport Park. Is it me, Matty Cavra? Has it gone a little bit darker out there?
Yes, it's there should still be some sun. I know it's winter and the sun goes down a little bit earlier, but we're not at that point yet. It's looking very ominous, like it has all day. And if you actually have a look on the radar, it shows nothing sometimes throughout the day, but we've had rain here. So hopefully we're not going to see a downpour before the end of this qualifying session. But
oh, again, Emery is turning his IRC machine into a drifting car. He's managed to catch that one. Didn't do it earlier on at the the right-hander at turn 4, but that was a good save from Emery. He will have certainly cost himself some time. Look at that, 1.4 seconds lost in the middle sector. A large bulk of that would have been with that mistake midway through the hairpin.
James Parker has put himself up the top of the charts at the moment at 1:35, so that is very quick there from Parker to get that car around. Emery at 1:36.1, so he's just a little bit behind him. He seems to be a little bit adventurous at the moment. Maybe he thinks that drying line's a little bit wider than it is. As you can see, he just drops that back wheel and the slight little dip in the road there where a bit of water started to pool. Let's take off him for a second there. Get back on board with McLaren at the moment, who is looking very steady out there. I'm sure he's got all the traction control and ABS turned on that at the moment, because I would hate to see that thing off the road.
great to see Parker back. Oh, speaking of off the road, Studdard's off once again, this time on the inside of turn 3. So he's clearly looped it out to the hairpin at Bomb Bend, and he's just recovered onto the race circuit. But I was about to say, great to see Parker back after just competing in one round last year. There is Studdard on the exit of the corner, as I thought, spun it around. He actually didn't go off the track at that point. It was just when he's performed the flick spin, he didn't have enough lock and dribbled off the road. Cacaviello, she's in the SD class. She has just gone to position at number 10. We haven't actually mentioned, there's 2 classes within IRC. The ones with the blue banners, the blue mirrors, those are the SD class cars. And the ones with the yellow banners and the yellow rear wings, like this one, they are the regular IRC GT cars. So these cars with the yellow banners, they've got the ABS traction control that we were talking about. Emily's got her work cut out. She's in one with none of the aids and even a smaller rear wing as well. So she is certainly, in fact, all of our SD competitors this weekend will have their work cut out, particularly in these treacherous conditions.
Yeah, they are a development car, especially for some of our up-and-coming young talent. We've seen several names sort of get into there over the last couple of rounds, just having a bit of a taste of what the IRC is all about. So that's Goodacre just coming up on our screens, because they might be looking for a little bit of fresh air. He's currently in 7th position, and he's just a little bit off the pace, 3.5 seconds. Is that started? They're just giving that the once over, like maybe taking a bit of the mud out of that front spoiler. I'm sure they'll be having a bit of a word. Gillison, I don't know if Dan Gillison is down there in the pit. He is down there in the pits with him, but there was talk potentially he was lurking around, potentially trying to get himself a driver's seat in one of the cars.
Wouldn't be the first time we've seen it, would it? He does love a steer of an IRC car. He won a race last year at Queensland Raceway, if memory serves me correctly. But on the screen, the number 51 machine, McPherson's jumped out. Ben Porter has jumped behind the wheel, and Porter has just gone, or a couple laps ago, up to position number 3. So very nice job from him, although this lap is going to be balked, I think, by the McLaren. No, Rees tries to move out the way. Certainly had a think about it as they go down the hill over the entry tunnel into the circuit and into turn 4. One of my favourite corners on this track. Very fast and sweeping, but you've got to sacrifice that corner a bit to get the right line for this corner. But a sacrifice has to be made through that right-left section.
Yeah, then up over the hill there. So there's a couple of different ways the track changes here as well. So, I mean, they'll be very familiar with what the Gardner circuit is all about, because there is several configurations to Sydney Motorsport Park as well, which obviously makes it one of the most exciting tracks, because you can actually have 2 events going at the same time here if they want to put the walls up. As here we go, a little bit of drafting down the main straight. Emery's just out in front, and there we go. As a little look, and Zach Gillison I've got up on my timing screen at the moment. So Dan Gillison might have taken control of the 34 there for a few laps, and this could be interesting because we know he's quite fast. He's the man that's normally got the onboard telemetry on his iPad there, and he's walking around, and you know, he's really starting to look at all the data and the finer points there for Danny Studdard. So he is going to, you know, the man that reviews the data probably understands what he's trying to look at here and where he can make those finer adjustments, especially after those practice sessions today where he would have been just taking records. As we see one of our yellow little flags there, looks like that's moving around a bit, or a flyer.
I'll tell you what, that makes this weekend even more enjoyable. Not only have we got Jeff Taunton back, we've also got another race winner back for this round. So I think we could have a 4-way scrap now. We've got Emery, we've got Gillison, we've got Taunton, and let's not forget Lee Stibbs either. And then the likes of our Johns, Hollinger and Goodacre, they'll be in and there or thereabouts as well. Certainly whets the appetite for what's going to be a really good weekend in the Australian IRC Racing Series. And Gillison on top by 1.11 seconds at the moment. But Porter's just gone PB in sector number 1. What's Emery got? What's his times at the moment? Not too bad in sector 1, but he's made a mistake in sector 2. He's 3 seconds down, so he's pulled out of this lap and he's going for another flyer. You could tell he got squirrely out of the final corner.
This will be his last chance too, because only 1 minute remaining. They're not going to get around to get another lap. Some of the cars are already deciding that that is enough at the moment, and they won't try and press on with that one. So I'm sorry, he hasn't taken over from Studdard. That's 7:02. So Gillison's in the 34.
Yes, with James Parker.
James Parker. Okay, that makes a bit more sense to me. So they've got in there in just one session. So he has done a flyer there. Oh, that's Parker that did the 135.
There is Porter. I just said about him. He's now moved up onto the front row of the grid. Another mover, Danny Studdard. We've seen him have a couple of off-track excursions in this session. He's finally stopped mowing the grass for the first time this session, and he's just popped his way up into position number 11. So very nicely done from the man behind the series.
Lee Stibbs too. He's gone purple in sector number 1, so that is the best time we've seen. He's pretty quick in sector number 2, but he's got the windscreen wipers on, so that might be. He did just overtake a car though, so maybe that's a little bit there. But have a look at Lee Stibbs. We haven't been talking about him much in this session. He hasn't been up there. He'll want to try and get on the front row for sure if he can make it happen. And there he goes, second position, purple sector number 3. And he's only 2/10 of Gillison and Parker.
Porter made a mistake down there at turn number 6, so just lost a little bit of time there, but he's buttoned out as a result. But P3, still a very good job for him. This, though, is his final lap, and I'm sure he'll bring it into the lane after that little error. Most of the field are actually in the pits, as you can see on the timing tower. So Hollinger's going to go no higher than 6th. Allen no higher than 7th. Cacaviello in position number 8 as well. She's not going to move. She's actually ahead of John Goodacre, who's got the ABS, and he's been a real front runner in the series this year, John Goodacre. 3rd in the series coming into this weekend. I'd have expected him to be a little bit higher than 9th.
Yeah, I think we might question that a little bit, because I'm not quite sure whether they've got someone else in that car. Just judging by those times, you think they'll be a little bit further up. Remembering the Taunton's up in our screen, but we saw someone else get in that car as well. So we might just do a little bit of a data check on that one in our break. Lee Stibbs still in second position there. That'll be his final lap as well. He won't get himself another one in as they all start to enter the pits. It will bring the end of our qualifying session for the driver Bs here for the Australian Innovation Race Car Series. Hear those brakes starting to pull now. They've been working hard in this session as well. Just that standing water that's still getting around the track. Now, it'll be interesting to see with that windscreen wiper of Lee Stibbs whether it's started to fall in different sections. And the problem was earlier in the day, they said there's still a little bit of rainfall on the main straight. When you go to the back sections, turn 5 and 6, 7, it had actually started to dry out because there wasn't any rain. So, you know, what do you do in terms of tyre when you've got one section of the racetrack that's drying out and one section that's actually getting wetter as well?
Here are the times then for qualifying of Quali B. Gillison at the top of the order by 2/10 head of Lee Stibbs. Ben Porter, as he's entered himself this weekend, in 3rd place head of Emery. We know Taunton wasn't behind the wheel, but his co-driver was in 5th head of John Hollinger, Dave Allen, Emily Cacaviello, John Goodacre and Cam Rees rounding out the top 10. Scott Pye is down there in the pits.
Dan Gillison, they've pulled the big dogs out today. I used to race Dan myself and can definitely wheel a race car. Fastest in that one. You're just saying that at least Stibbs, though, did pull out a lap at the end, so it's just 0.2 between you. But good job, mate. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, it was a good margin. I think the boys were telling me like a second or something. And so put one out, but it was the last 4 or 5 laps was quite damp from 5, 6, 7, but it still wasn't slippery. But then the last lap was really, really slippery. So I had a bit of a moment, and then I was never going to go faster, so backed it off from there.
And that was your first laps for the day. So what were your first impressions of these cars on this circuit? And then what are you expecting the weather to do later in the day? And also, you know everything about engineering as well. You've been helping Danny start up behind the scenes. But what do you do with the race car, depending on conditions? What can you adjust in these cars to try and help make the car a little bit more manageable?
There is a whole lot of stuff, like as much stuff as you can really adjust on the cars. To be honest, because it's been so changing, we haven't really changed much. We've just let the cars as they are. Like practice 2 was, we all went down on slicks to the dummy grid ready to go, and then it rained down there. So everyone we all had a drive set up on, and then it rained. All we did was bolted the wets on and went off we went. So, but yeah, I've done some testing. We tested here with Danny a few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks ago. So did a few laps then. But then James's first ever time seeing the track today, so just left all the practice up to him to get comfortable, and then jumped in for qualifying. And I was hoping it was going to be slicks because I didn't want to go out in the wet with this, and I just got it.
No, you've done a great job. What happens now then? Is this all business now? You don't you keep your trade secrets to yourself. You don't help Danny anymore. It's all focus on James, getting him up to speed.
No, it's definitely all three of the cars. So we're still on the radio. I was obviously on the radio to Danny in the first quali, and then gave it to Rob, put the helmet on, jumped in the car. So I'll be on the radio still to Danny and still coaching him through the weekend, and the other car as well, and then also with James helping him out, and just have a little bit of a drive every now and then. It's good.
That's seriously cool, mate. Congratulations, well done. Good job.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. Cheers.
Yeah, I love seeing the energy and the enthusiasm out there. Dan Gillison. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we will turn our focus to our broadcast at 5 p.m. this afternoon as our TA2 muscle cars will kick that off live on SBS, Viceland, Fox and KO. Make sure you join us for all that action. It's going to be the Sydney Sunset Showdown under lights here tonight at Sydney Motorsport Park.